The United States 1 cent coin in 1982 holds a very special place in the world of modern coin collecting. This year, 1982, is remembered as a transitional year for the penny, because in that single year the composition of the coin was changed. For many decades, United States 1 cent coins have been struck in a bronze composition, made up of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. However, due to the rising cost of copper in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the U.S. Mint decided to shift to a copper-plated zinc planchet, which contains only 2.5% copper coating over a 97.5% zinc core. This change meant that in 1982, both copper pennies and zinc pennies were produced and multiple varieties were struck, making the year very interesting for collectors. The 1982 penny can be found in several variations, including large date and small date designs, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and even the San Francisco Mint for proof issues. However, the coin you are interested in is the 1982 penny that is marked with a D, but in circulated condition without a mint mark distinction in grading, which collectors usually call no special variety or grade. In circulated condition, these coins are common, but still they hold collectible and historical value, especially because of the year's importance in coinage history. When we talk about the 1982 D penny, we need to remember that Denver struck both copper and zinc versions that year, with both large date and small date varieties. The copper version weighs about 3.11 grams, while the zinc version weighs about 2.5 grams. Collectors often separate them by weight or by a ringing test. Because of this, many coin collectors enjoy finding out which version they have. The coin in circulated condition may not fetch a premium in the numismatic market, but it still carries a value above its face if it is copper, because the melt value of copper can sometimes be higher than 1 cent. However, U.S. law prohibits melting down pennies for raw material value, so the actual trade in the collector's market is based on numismatic demand, not scrap value. In today's coin market, an average circulated 1982 D penny, without any error or special variety, is generally worth face value 1 cent when spent as currency. But collectors may buy rolls of 1982 pennies to search for the copper versions or for the rare small date varieties. If you are selling a circulated 1982 D penny individually to a collector, its market value may be around 1 to 5 cents depending on the condition, the type of metal, and the buyer's interest. In bulk, circulated examples are often sold by weight or by rolls, usually at slight premiums if they contain a mix of copper versions. Now, when we examine the coin more deeply, the obverse side features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. His profile faces right, and above his head is the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left side of the coin is the word liberty, and to the right side, the date 1982 is inscribed along with the mint mark D if struck at Denver. The reverse side features the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo, which was used from 1959 until 2008. The words United States of America curve along the top rim, with the motto E Pluribus Unum directly above the memorial, and the denomination 1 cent appears at the bottom. In higher mint state grades, one can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. In circulated condition, the coin usually shows where on Lincoln's cheek, jaw, and coat, as well as flattening on the memorial steps. The degree of wear determines whether it falls into grades such as good, very good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, or about uncirculated. For the 1982 penny, circulated pieces in good to fine condition are extremely common and generally valued at just face. Extremely fine or about uncirculated coins may fetch slightly more, perhaps a few cents each to a collector trying to fill an album. Now, let's talk about the actual collector market in 2025. Collectors today often buy bulk lots of 1982 pennies to sort copper from zinc. Since 1982 is a key transition year, copper pennies from that year are somewhat more sought after. On auction sites like eBay or at coin shops, circulated 1982 D copper pennies may sell in bulk at prices equivalent to 2 to 3 cents per coin when sold by the pound or by rolls. Zinc versions, being more common and less desirable, usually trade at face. But if your coin is in truly uncirculated condition, then prices can go up considerably. Mint State 65 red coins may trade in the range of $2 to $5, depending on variety. But again, circulated coins are most often just nominal in value. There are also special varieties to watch for in the 1982D issue. For example, the 1982D small date copper penny is considered rare, and if you happen to find one even in circulated condition, it could be worth several $1,000s depending on grade. However, the regular 1982D large date copper, or zinc pennies, in circulated condition are common and inexpensive. If we compare market values, the average 1982D circulated penny, without rare variety, holds a retail collector value of around 1 to 3 cents. Dealers may buy them in bulk just at face, unless the seller is offering a lot of copper pennies. In contrast, certified uncirculated versions or rare varieties can climb far higher. For a circulated coin without mint mark specification and grade, its real-world market value is very modest. To put this in perspective for collectors and viewers, if you have a jar of 1982 pennies from circulation, most will not be worth much above face. But it is always worth checking the weight and style to date to see if you might have one of the valuable small date copper examples. That is why the 1982 penny remains an exciting year, because of the possibility of finding a treasure among otherwise common coins. So, in today's coin market in 2025, the circulated 1982D 1 cent without rare variety is typically worth between 1 cent and perhaps up to 3 cents depending on condition and type of metal. Collectors keep them for historical value and for filling albums, but only rare varieties in high mint state grades carry significant premiums. This makes the 1982 penny a very interesting study coin, especially for beginners in the hobby, because it teaches about composition changes, mint marks, and variety hunting. As we continue to explore the details, it is worth noting how coin collectors around the world appreciate transitional years. Transitional years are when a design, a metal composition, or minting technique changes. In the case of the 1982 penny, it is both a design variation with large and small dates and a metal composition change from bronze to copper-plated zinc. That is why 1982 stands out as more complex than most other penny years, and why so many collectors focus on it. For a 90-minute educational video, you can elaborate on these aspects by going into deeper detail on how to identify the weight difference, how to distinguish large date from small date varieties, and how collectors typically store and sort them. You can also discuss the economics of copper prices in the early 1980s that forced the U.S. Mint to change the composition. In fact, by 1982, the cost to produce a copper penny was approaching or exceeding 1 cent, which made it unsustainable for mint. The switch to copper-plated zinc reduced costs, but also introduced new issues, such as zinc corrosion when the plating wears down. In conclusion, the United States 1982D 1 cent coin in circulated condition without mint mark distinction is common and generally worth just its face value of 1 cent, with slight premiums of copper and if sold collectors by rolls. Its historical importance lies in being part of the transitional year of the U.S. cent. The market value in today's dollar for circulated pieces is very modest, typically around 1 to 3 cents, but its educational and collectible importance is much greater. For the hobbyist, this coin represents a learning opportunity and a chance to check for rare small date varieties that can be highly valuable. And that is why even a simple circulated 1982 penny can spark interest in collectors and historians alike.